What is going on, you guys? It's your girl Diana back at you with another YouTube video. Currently in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, there is 400 Pokemon in the Paldean Pokedex. And of those 400, there is over 100 brand new Gen 9 Pokemon. So if you're like me and you're trying to catch as many new Pokemon as possible, then this is the video for you because I'm going to be reviewing all of the new Gen 9 Pokemon. I will also do a separate video that goes over all of the returning Pokemon, so if you want to see if some of your old friends made it into the game, then make sure that you have your notifications on so that you don't miss when that video goes up as well. And if you're new here, make sure that you subscribe so that you're always up to date on the latest Pokemon news, and give this video a thumbs up so that we can push out into the YouTube algorithm so that more people can see it. And if you would like another way to support the channel, feel free to check out the merch store. There is a link down below in the description that takes you to not only my merch store, but also all of my other socials so you can keep up with what I'm doing on a daily basis. And in case you're still on the hunt for your own copy of Pokemon Scarlet or Pokemon Violet, I have added both games to my Amazon storefront, which is also linked down below. But let's go ahead and go over all of the new Gen 9 Pokemon. So I've gone ahead and hopped over to Cerebi where they have a complete list of all of the new Gen 9 Pokemon, so let's go ahead and hop right into this because there is quite a few to go over. Starting off with our grass starter, Sprigatito, which is of course a pure grass type. Sprigatito then evolves into Floragato, which is also a pure grass type. I really like its design. It's honestly one of my favorite middle evolutions that I've seen for a starter in a really long time. Floragato then evolves into Meowscarada, which is supposed to be the magician Pokemon, so obviously he kind of looks like a magician. I've also heard people say he looks like a court jester. But Meowscarada is a grass and dark type, so quite the typing to have to work around. We then have our fire type starter, which is of course Fuecoco, who is a pure fire type, and stays a pure fire type when it evolves into Crocalor, which that is not a sombrero on its head, that is in fact a nest with an egg. And that egg does hatch when Crocalor evolves into Skeledirge, and it literally becomes a tiny little bird on the edge of its nose. And Skeledirge is supposed to be based off of a singer. I don't know how that is supposed to look like a singer, but sure, Transformer, singer, same thing, right? But Skeledirge is a fire and ghost type, which is one of my favorite typings. Following Skeledirge, we have Quaxly, which is our water type starter, and of course a pure water type. Quaxly then evolves into Quaxwell, which keeps its pure water typing, and he kind of just gets taller and keeps a cool little hat. But when Quaxwell evolves into Quaquaval, he literally turns into a water Blaziken and gets the water fighting dual typing. Honestly, out of the three, I think that Quaquaval actually has the best design. And I love its personality. He literally runs around like Captain Jack Sparrow and dances everywhere. You can't go wrong with that. Next up, we have everyone's new favorite Pokemon, Lechonk, which is a pure normal type and keeps its pure normal typing when it evolves into Oinkologne, which I'm pretty sure they were trying to play off of the word baloney, but somebody tell me if I'm actually pronouncing that name wrong because the G always throws me off when I see it. But Oinkologne is basically just a bigger version of Lechonk. We did also get a Dunsparce evolution in this gen that has two different forms, and its name, get ready, is the Dunsparce. They really tried on that one. But there is a 2-segment form and a 3-segment form, and they are both normal types. Honestly, I can hardly see a difference between the two, let alone between them and Dunsparce. But sure, let's just call it an evolution by adding on a little segment. We have another new bug type called Tarantula. I think that's how that's pronounced. It looks like taro, like the boba that I drink, like taro tea, however you want to say it. Tarantula, I don't know. Like I said, let me know if I'm pronouncing these wrong, because I probably am. But it is a pure bug type and keeps its pure bug typing when it evolves into Spidops, which looks like it's ready to square up with whoever crosses its path. And if you have been playing the games, I'm sure you've already run into this thing everywhere, because I know I have, and it's called Nimble. It's another pure bug type, and it looks like a little cricket. I can hardly see it, and I always run into them and have to battle them. But Nimble then evolves into Lokix, which is a dual bug dark type, and he honestly looks pretty cool to me. Like, look at him. I feel like we kind of got a lot of new bugs this gen, because we also got this guy over here that looks like he's based off of a dung beetle, because I don't know what he's pushing. What is this ball made out of? Let me know. But his name is Rellor and is also a pure bug type. Rellor then evolves into Rabsca, which does look like it's supposed to be based off of a scarab. And I'm not gonna lie, I really like its color scheme. It's literally bright pink and teal. Those are two of my favorite colors. So I will definitely be adding this to my personal Pokedex. And Rabsca is a dual bug bug psychic type. Following Rabsco, we have Gravard, our new ghost dog Pokemon that was introduced to us during the Halloween trailer, which is a pure ghost type and stays a pure ghost type when it evolves into Houndstone. It's actually been a hot minute since we gotten a cool looking pure ghost type, so I'm pretty pleased. And I think it's kind of funny that he has a tombstone on top of his head. And he also reminds me of those really cute mop dogs. I actually ran into this little guy the other day while I was playing, and its name is Flittle. And it almost looks like a teeny tiny little finch Pokemon. It is a pure psychic type, and it stays a pure psychic type when it becomes Espathra, which kind of looks like a roadrunner or like a peacock with its tail down. I don't really know, or a quail maybe? I don't know. Let me know what this is supposed to look like, but it turns into a big bird. Up next we have our Space Cadet Farigiraf, which is a normal psychic type, and I think it's adorable and it is 1000% going on my team. We were also introduced to Wiglet already in one of the trailers, which is a pure water type and is supposed to be a convergent evolution with Diglett. And just like everybody was trolling and memeing about, it does in fact evolve into Wugtrio. Honestly, whoever named the Pokemon in this generation needs a raise because these names are hilarious. Wugtrio does also stay a pure water type, and he literally looks like 3 hot dogs sticking out of like an ocean rock. And you'll be able to see Wugtrio from like a mile away because it's literally bright pink. We also have Dondozo, which is going to be important in the Path of Legends, who is a pure water type, and it looks like it's based off of like a catfish. We also have another fish Pokemon that kind of looks like a Barracuda called Beluza. That is a water and psychic dual type. The next Pokemon is definitely one that's going on my team because I think it's adorable and it's also hilarious, and that's Finizen, which is a pure water type and is obviously based off of a dolphin. Finizen then evolves into Palafin, which Palafin has 2 different forms. It has its zero form where it stays as a Palafin and it looks like a dolphin, but the one that I want is Palafin's zero form where it literally turns into All Might. It's supposed to be based off of Superman, I'm pretty sure. Finizen and both of Palafin's forms are all pure water types, but the stats on its hero form are actually pretty good, so definitely don't sleep on this one. There is also Smoliv, which is literally a small olive who is a grass normal type. And surprisingly, Smoliv actually has a full evolutionary line. It evolves from Smoliv to Dolliv, where it literally looks like a cute little olive girl. And Dolliv then evolves into Arboliva, which is also a grass normal type, but it literally turns into a big olive tree. I did also accidentally run into one of these Capsikids the other day, which is a pure grass type, but I definitely knocked it out on accident. But honestly, its design kind of weirds me out. It looks like a bird, dragon, thing. I don't know, it looks kind of scary. But it evolves into Scovillain, so obviously it's supposed to be based off of a pepper because of the Scoville scale, which tells you how spicy a pepper is, and it literally turns into like a red and green pepper, which I thought was pretty clever, and it's literally a grass fire type because it's spicier. Come on, you gotta give them some credit for that one. Up next we have Tadbulb, which is a little tadpole Pokemon, and these things are tiny in the overworld. I can like literally hardly see them, but it is an electric type Pokemon, and Tadbulb evolves into Bellibolt, which is one of Iono's Pokemon. And if they make this thing into a Squishmallow, I guarantee it's gonna sell out, but it's also a pure electric type. I love Bellibolt, and it is also going on my team. And for those of you that were like me and noticed that all of the Starmobiles had eyes and thought that they were a Pokemon, you'd be right, because we are getting engine Pokemon. We have Varoom, which is a steel poison type, which is like the little engine, and we have Reveroom, which is its evolution, and it's the bigger engine that you kind of see in the front of the Starmobile, which is also a steel poison type. Next up we have Orthworm, which is also one of our Titan Pokemon. That is a pure steel type. It's literally the Alaskan bullworm from SpongeBob. Next up we have our little family of mice, which was actually leaked in one of the trailers in the minimap. Its first form is a normal type, and it's called Tandemouse, which then evolves into Mousehold. It does keep its normal type, and it looks like it does have 2 different forms because you can have a family of 3 or you can have a family of 4. Both normal type. After Mousehold, we have one of the cutest Pokemon that I've ever seen, which is Citotl, which is the pre-evolution for Cetitan. Citotl is a pure ice type and of course evolves into Cetitan, which stays a pure ice type as well. After Cetitan, we're getting into pseudo-legendary territory because we have Frigibax, which is the first stage evolution of one of the new pseudos. It is a dragon ice type, which then evolves into Arctibax, which stays a dragon ice type as well, and its final evolution is this little dragon looking guy named Baxcalibur, which is also a dragon ice type. I'm pretty sure they were obviously trying to go with an Excalibur theme with this one. Next up we have Tatsugiri, which is also important in the Path of Legends, which is a dragon water type, and it's apparently known as the sushi Pokemon, so this thing is little and it looks like sushi. We also have Cyclizar, which was introduced to us in a trailer as well, which is a dragon normal type, and this is basically how people get around the Paldea region. It literally acts as a bicycle. We've also seen Pawmi before in trailers, which is a pure electric type. This is our Pika clone, which then evolves into Pawmo, and then has the laziest evolution into Pawmot, where it literally just gets a lot more fur. Both Pawmo and Pawmot are electric fighting types, so it makes sense as to why they have such big paws. Next up, we have a baby Zapdos. It's an electric flying type bird named Wattrel, literally playing off of Watts, which then evolves into Kilowattrel, which also is an electric flying type. Following baby Zapdos, we have Bombirdier, another one of our titans, which is a flying and dark type. We also have our new parrot Pokemon, which is Squawkably, and is a normal flying type. It does have various colors. We also have a flamingo Pokemon, literally named Flamigo, so it's a flamingo that wants to be your amigo. And it's a flying fighting type. We've seen Cloth before in a plethora of different trailers, and is also one of our titans and a pure rock type. We also have our little rock salt Pokemon that was actually accidentally revealed in a trailer as well in the minimap. I actually have no idea how to pronounce this thing's name. I literally call it NaCle because it's supposed to be a play on the formula for salt. It then evolves into NaCl Stack. I'm literally gonna mispronounce these names. Somebody tell me how you actually say these, but NaCl Stack, which stays a rock type, which then evolves into Gargancel. That's how I'm gonna say that. I don't know. Like I said, nobody come for me. I'm probably mispronouncing a lot of these names, but it turns into a giant rock salt monster and keeps its rock typing for all 3 stages. Next up, we have another teeny tiny Pokemon, which is Glimmet, which is a rock poison type that evolves into Glamora, which honestly, I actually really like that name. I don't know why, it just sounds fancy, it sounds bougie, but it's also a rock poison type Pokemon, and it almost looks like it's got some kind of shell that opens up. Grafaiai's pre-evolution is named Shroodle, and it's literally a tiny little mouse Pokemon. It's a poison normal type, and then of course it evolves into Grafaiai, which is also a poison normal type. I honestly think Grafaiai is so ugly that it's cute, but some people think it's just ugly. We also have Fido, which is our little donut dog, which is apparently moist, according to the recent trailer that we got, which is a pure fairy type, which then evolves into Doxbun. It stays a pure fairy type, but he's got a tan, so it looks like they baked Fido into Doxbun. We're getting quite a few dog Pokemon in this gen, but we also have Mastiff, which is a pure dark type and is obviously a play on the word Mastiff, which is a dog breed if you're not aware. Mastiff then evolves into Mabostiff, which I'm sure is trying to take inspiration from like a mammoth and a dog, but it's also a pure dark type. This next one is definitely an interesting choice for a Pokemon. It's literally a tumbleweed Pokemon. It looks weird to me, but it's called Bramblin. It's a grass ghost type Pokemon, which also evolves into Brambleghast, which is still a grass ghost type, but it turns into a larger, more menacing looking tumbleweed, like the ones you see in the middle of the desert when you're driving to Vegas that literally attack your car when they blow across the freeway. We also have Gimmighoul, which of course we know has 2 different forms. It has its chess form and its roaming form. Only its chess form is catchable right now in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. It's a pure ghost type, and after you get 999 coins, you're able to evolve it into Golden Go, which is a steel ghost type, and he's literally like a gold surfer who also has a fanny pack. And now we are getting into some Paradox Pokemon, which they are actually called Paradox Pokemon according to the Pokemon Company. But we have Great Tusk, which we've already seen, which is a ground fighting type. It is one of our titans and is the past form of Donphan. We also have Brute Bonnet, which is a grass dark type and is supposed to be the past form of Amoonguss. And it's obviously got some nice shade going on with all the leaves hanging off of its hat, or whatever you want to call that. We also have Sandy Shocks, which is the past form of Magneton and is an electric ground type. It's literally got legs. It literally uses its magnets for legs. It's crazy. And it looks like it's got some metal shards on the ends of it. My camera died, but next up we have Screamtail, which is the past form of Jigglypuff that has some great hair and is a fairy psychic type. We also have a past form of Misdreavus known as Fluttermane, who is a ghost fairy type and also has some great hair. We have the past form of Volcarona, which is Slitherwing. I don't know what's slithering about it because it has legs, but sure. But it is a bug fighting type. It does look pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie. We also have my favorite Paradox Pokemon, which is Roaring Moon, which is the past form of Salamence and is a dragon dark type. You cannot tell me that that is not the best looking Pokemon that you have seen in ages. That thing looks sick. Moving into the future forms of Pokemon, we have Iron Treads, which we also already saw in a trailer and is another one of our titans. And it is a ground steel type and looks like one of Dr. Robotnik's badniks. We have a future form of Volcarona, which is Iron Moth, which honestly I think this one looks a little bit cooler than the past form. This is one of the few future forms that I actually think is better than the past form, but it is a fire poison type. We also have Iron Hands, which we've already covered as well, which is a fighting and electric type, and Iron Jugulus, which is a dark flying type, which is obviously the future form of Hydreigon. It doesn't really look like a lot changed. I feel like they didn't really try with this one. Another one of the future forms that I like is Iron Thorns, which is the future form of Tyranitar, which is a rock and electric type. He's literally got LED lights all over him. Come on, that's pretty cool. We also have Iron Bundle, which is the future form of Delibird, which basically looks like Delibird but in metal form, and it is an ice water type, so not too different from Delibird. We have our Gallade slash Gardevoir variant, which is Iron Valiant, which is a fairy and fighting type. He looks pretty cool too. And next up we have Ting Lu, which is a dark ground type, which looks like it's got some kind of rock hat. Chenpo, which whenever I say its name, it reminds me of the Mulan character, is a dark ice type, and this little saber-tooth guy is 1000% going on my team as well. I mean, look at it. It looks sick. We also have Wo-Chen, which is literally like a mossy slug, it looks like, and it's a dark grass type. And we have Chi-Yu, which is a little goldfish. It's adorable, and it's a dark fire type. Definitely not the typing that you would expect from a fish. I like it. Of course, we have the legendaries Koraidon and Miraidon. Everybody knows them by now, which are fighting and dragon and electric and dragon. Personally, I like Koraidon a little bit better than Miraidon, but that's also why I picked to play Scarlet first over Violet. Now this one right here, Tinkatink, is also 100% going on my team. It's a fairy steel type and it's literally got a little hammer. And then it evolves into Tinkatuff and it looks like Amy Rose from Sonic, and it gets a bigger hammer and it's also a fairy steel type. And then it turns into Tinkaton! Look at this thing! It's beautiful. This has got to be one of my favorite Pokemon that's actually come out in the most recent years. It's adorable. Just look at it. It's like the perfect combination design-wise of fairy and steel. Like, it looks really tough, but it also is a cute little fairy. And I love it. We also have our version exclusives, which both start off as a Charcadet, which is a pure fire type. And if you have Scarlet, it evolves into Armarouge, which is fire and psychic. And if you have Violet, it evolves into Cerulege, which is fire and ghost. And let me tell you, trying to find a Charcadet is actually literally the hardest thing ever. They are tiny and they are very rare spawns. I was literally hunting for one for like hours the other day, and I finally found one that I caught, and then I found another one, but I knocked it out on accident because they're not very strong. So beware. We also have our convergent evolutions of Tentacool and Tentacruel, which are Toadscool, which is a ground grass type, and Toadscruel, which is also a ground grass type, but look at them. They're literally based off of mushrooms, and their names are literally plays off the word toadstool. That's pretty clever. All right, we have finally arrived to the final 3 new Pokemon in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. This one right here, he looks pretty scary, looks pretty intimidating, whose name reminds me of when people try to pronounce PetSmart and PetSmart, but I believe it's supposed to be Kingambit, which is a dark and steel type. Very fitting for this design, if I do say so myself. And then of course our Paldean Wooper has to evolve, which it evolves into Clodsire, which is honestly the cutest thing I have ever seen. And it's a poison ground type. And lastly, to end off this list of the Gen 9 Pokemon, we have Annihilate, which literally, look at how cool this thing looks. Like, are you kidding? It's a ghost fighting type, so it's a nice little change up from a regular Primeape. But that is going to be it for all of the brand new Gen 9 Pokemon that you can find in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Hopefully you guys found this video helpful, and hopefully you were able to grab a snack and a drink, because this was definitely a long one. But like I said, stay tuned for part 2, where I talk about all of the returning Pokemon that you can also get in the Paldea region. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Love you guys. Bye!